Welcome to the first part of our online game design course. This week we're going to be looking at an online tool called Bitsy. It's a great tool for making kind of small games. You can walk around, you can talk to different characters, you can pick up items. And the great thing about it is that it's free to access. You access it just through your browser. And in today's video we're going to take a quick walk through the different parts of the tool, how you can start to use it, and hopefully by the end you'll have some ideas of kind of things you can make. If you're following along the video at home and you want to kind of work on Explore Bitsy at the same time, that's fine, that should be really good. You can kind of just pause the video as you go along and catch up, switch between two tabs. So let's get into it. So the website that you need to go to access Bitsy should be at the top of the page. It's ledoux.itch.io/Bitsy. And when you open it up the first time, you should be faced with a page that looks a little bit like this. And so we're just going to click Run Tool there, and it's going to load into Bitsy. So it can be a bit confusing when you first open Bitsy, but everything that you need to use to make your game is presented here, essentially. So all these different tabs, these different kind of blocks, they control different aspects of the game. And what we're going to do first of all is take kind of we're going to learn about them in an order as we put together a basic game quite quickly. Kind of the first few times you're playing with Bitsy, you might want to just jump straight in and explore kind of how the different things work and get an idea then of what kind of games you might want to build. Or you might have an idea already, or you might just prefer to work by making a plan first and then kind of trying to build your game in that way. So first thing to do when you start in Bitsy is we've got the game's title up here. So we're going to make a quick game and just going to call this one The Garden. Okay, and so you can see that's updated there. So now this first window here is the room window. This is kind of the key one that you want to keep hold of, keep track of. With these windows as well, you can move them around. So if something isn't in the best place, just click it, drag it, and put it in the right place. So let's have a look at what the game is doing already. So if we click play here, it's going to load into the game as it is. So we can see that the title showed up, and we have this character that we can move around the screen. There's a cat down there who will talk to us if we go and speak to the cat. These blocks around the edge, they don't do anything, we can move through them. Okay, and that's all we have. So your game is going to be built out of these rooms. So we have this example room, and that's the only room that we have so far. Within the room, we have these different elements, and we can see them in this paint tab. So we have the avatar, that's the character that we play as. We have tiles, these are kind of background items or scenery. At the moment we just have this block around the edge. We have sprites, so this is like the cat. This is another character that our player can interact with. And we have also items, and these, similar to the sprites, the difference is that when our player interacts with them, they will pick them up. So when you're placing things in the room, you select them here in the paint tab. So we can see we've got the T selected here, I'm just going to click in the room to place it next to, well, near the cat, so I can show you the difference in the way they interact. And the other thing I'm going to show you when I start this time is I'm going to change this block here to say wall. And so let's see what happens. So now if I try and move the player against the wall block, they can't get through. So our player is now trapped within this space. You can talk to the cat, same as before, but you'll notice the cat is also like a wall. The player can't move through it. We found a nice warm cup of tea. So there we've picked up the tea, and now that tea is, that's actually stored in our inventory or kind of as a variable. So the game is keeping track of that, and we're going to come back to that later. So now when you've finished kind of testing these changes that you've made, so we were just exploring what the wall did and the variable with the t, always make sure that you press stop. So you have to stop the game from playing. Otherwise, any changes that you carry on making, they won't be saved, or they'll kind of mess up the way the game is being stored. So yeah, if you ever get stuck as well, just check that you've not accidentally left that as playing. So what we're going to do is I've quickly got this idea about the garden. So I'm going to show you how to quickly draw, well, how you can kind of go about quickly creating a scene. So I've got this block here. I'm going to change this to be hedge. So I'm just working on an idea that I've just kind of quickly put together, just to demonstrate how quickly we can do things. So the idea with this game is that it's some kind of garden that our players found themselves in, and there might be different sections, different areas they can go to. So it's kind of like there's this puzzle element to it. I'm just blocking out these shapes with the hedge tile that I've made, and I've got this set as a wall. So this is controlling the space where the player is going to be able to go. If you want to check what you have set as a wall, you can go down here and click that tab to reveal them. At the moment I'm going to put the hedges kind of right around the edge, because I only want there to be kind of one block where the player can move to the next space. And so we want to make a new tile. We're going to click add there, and we're going to do one called flowers. This one I'm not going to set to wall, it's just going to be okay. Often when you're making lots of tiles like this, where you might want to have similar ones that just have a bit more variety, or yeah, kind of adds a bit of difference to the way the game looks. So let's go back to our hedge and make an alternate hedge one. So I'm going to click this here to duplicate the drawing. I'm going to rename this hedge 2. And I'm just going to click in here to redraw some of these parts. So you can see the tiles that I'm replacing, I'm just clicking once to remove the tile, and then clicking again to place the one that I have selected. Okay, and now let's do one more flower one. I'm going to do just a brand new one, class 2. So straight away you'll see that it's quite interesting the way you're having to build your drawings, because it's quite a limited space that you have, and so you have to think quite carefully about the images that you want to make and how they work together, and how you can be clever about using the space. So again, I'm just dropping these files in. Let's have a look at how this room looks. Okay, so that's working. We can't move through the hedges. It doesn't go anywhere yet, so maybe we'll look at that next. So we'll stop that, and let's go back. Let's just give our gardener a little hat. So these character sprites I often find the most difficult, because we're working with such a tiny space. It can be difficult. So the basic one that you started with is quite nice. I have to just keep that. But also it's fun to experiment, trying to create something a bit different. So let's change this T to something else. Let's have it as, what could they be finding? Let's just say these are seeds. So you would have noticed before when we were interacting with the item, it was saying something each time. So that's controlled by the dialog here, and also this window here. For the basic dialog, we can just write it here. So we're going to say, we found some fallen seeds. Okay, let's test this. Okay, so that's kind of a basic item in the room now that we can place, the player can collect. So with the items, you can place as many as you need. With the sprite, you can only have one of them placed, so you see the cat each time you click is being moved around. You have to be quite careful when you're designing a game, also because you're very limited with the colours. You've only got 3 colours that you can use. Colours are controlled in this colour tab here. So let's see if we can make something that looks a bit more like a garden. So let's go with this green. The flowers and sprites, let's make them. Maybe pink like this. Like the things we were painting, we can give this color palette a name. So let's say one. And so you will have noticed you can have multiple palettes as well. Right, so we have this basic room sketched out. Let's make a second room to connect to it. I'll just click to add room there. Let's say this is garden 2. I'm going to put the grid back on. Now I want this room to connect at the same point as the player leaves the garden on this side, so I'm going. And so another thing to bear in mind is that you can always sketch out your levels like this quite quickly. you don't have to use the kind of final artwork straight away, because you can always go back and edit it. So you see all the flowers that I just placed. I can continue to edit it up here, and it's going to change how they all look in the game. So how are we going to move between these rooms? So let's go back to the first room. And we need some exits and endings. So I'm just going to put this tab along here. So you move between rooms with exits. So we can add, we're going to add an exit. So now here in the game I can click and drag it there. So that's the square where I want the player to leave the room. If I go across to the next room now, it's automatically placed the exit down here, but we're going to move it up here. So we can see those two exits are connected to each other here and here. So let's try them out if we click play. So straight away, our player is able to move between these two rooms. So let's keep going. Garden 3. Let's move this tab back here. And I'm just going to check where I want that to join up, which is down there. So each time I'm mapping out the spaces roughly and then adding in some variety. And let's get our ending connected up. So I usually find it's best to find the room where you want to place the first door of the exit, and then exits and endings up here. If we go add, it's going to place it in the room we're starting in. So move it to there. And we can just check up here. So the default exit for this is set to that next room, Garden 3. Of course, it's not in quite the right place. So move up there. You might have noticed that I've started to build a space in the bottom corner here where the player can't get to there. They can't get to it here either. And what we're going to do is create a small puzzle. We're going to use the final room, the fourth room, to connect them back up. So let's hide that again. Garden 3, let's create Garden 4. Okay. And we need to put those exits on. So let's go back to Garden 3 and exit. Now here's where things might get tricky, because we want to add another exit onto this bit of room, but I'm not quite sure where it's going to place the next door. Okay, so it's looped around, so it thinks we want to go back to our first room. But what we actually want to do is we find the room that we want to be in, so that's Garden 3, and here we're going to click this Move tab here. And this means that wherever we click in this room now, that return exit point is going to be placed. So we'll do that there. Now we need to add another one. We're going to move that there. Find the room we want. Again, click Move. And now it's in the correct room. And now these should all link up. Great. So we have this way of our player moving around the space. You can get to all the rooms. And it's quite nice that as you move between the rooms, you don't get confused about where you are. It all kind of makes sense. It's nice to keep the spaces in line. We can add transition effects. So I always get these the wrong way around, but let's try this slide right. Okay, so that one's going to be slide. Okay, so by doing that, we've kind of added more continuity to the space. Let's make a new tile. So we're going to call this one grass. And with this one, what we're going to show is how you can animate things. So all of these tiles up here, they have animation available. If you click this here, it's going to open up the animation tab. Now, animation is quite tricky because you've only got 2 frames to do the animation. So you can see a quick preview of it there. And maybe out here it's a bit more wild as well. There's some longer grass, so let's do grass. Okay. Now let's go back. So we haven't used our seeds very much yet. Let's place a few more of these that I can collect. So the idea with these ones is that there may be some strange statues that are placed around the garden. Okay, and now let's quickly talk about so the game at the moment doesn't have any end. The player would just move around endlessly. And so what we're going to try and do is have a bit of a puzzle. So in the items, so we have the seeds. Now there's always a default item which is a key. So let's place this here. Do a quick gate. Another thing you can do is if you start drawing, if you click there to place the tile, it's sometimes easier to kind of plan what you want to draw. Okay, that kind of looks like a gate. Building. And another door. So let's add our exit up here. So we want it to be the end of the game. Yeah, let's open it. And so in the dialog here we have some different options. I'm going to do branching list. So if we don't want seeds, we're not interested in that. Key. If the key is in the inventory, we use this code to make sure that the gate is locked. So close that. Let's see what happens now. Okay, so hopefully when we start, I won't have the key, and it's going to say that the gate appears to be locked. Great, so that time the key opened the gate and it took us back to the start of the game. Oh, it finished the game. Oops. Stop. Great. So that's how you kind of piece together the basic game. Obviously there's a lot more we could have done that. We could have added in characters, we could have made things happen with the seeds. Quickly, for example, so the seeds dialog here, you found some fallen seeds. We can add in something like a shuffle list. So every time the seeds are picked up, it would say something different. Through the colors. So then this is the important bit over here. This download is where you download the game. So if you download the game like this, it's going to download it in a way that you should be able to open just within your browser. So straight away, you have a game that you can kind of share with your friends, send to people. And this is also what you'd use if you wanted to upload the game anywhere, like to itch, whoever, using Bitsy itself. This last window as well is really important. This is the game data. So this is the code that builds the whole game. Because you're editing the game just in the browser, you can only have one game that you're working on at a time. So if you wanted to start working on a different idea, I can come back to this one later. What you have to do is download your game data and make a copy of it. Because then when you want to start a new game, you have to go here to Tools and click New Game. But just be aware that it will kind of replace whatever you have open in the browser at that time. Great, so hopefully this has been a useful session and you've been able to follow along. So the exercise before the next one, if you want to take part, is kind of to just try and put together your own game, see what you can come up with. Particularly if you can make something where you're using items to then unlock different doors, or you're kind of setting the player up to talk to different characters, kind of see what kind of interesting things you can come up with within the dialogue and the different sprites you can meet. And yeah, thanks for watching.